Right. So the database that we have created, we call it the student DB, and it has the extension of ACCDB, right? So I'm starting the Access database. So, so far we have created five tables, right? Which is the class, the desk table, the student table, and student teacher table, and the teacher table, right? So why we are creating these things? Because like to understand how the relationships are working and how the what else that the database can perform, right? So in the student table, we had the details of the student, and in the class table we had the details of the class, and desk table we had the details of the desk, and the student teacher table we actually have the details of how many hours that a particular student is participated with a particular teacher, right? And the teacher table, we have the details of the teacher. And when it comes to the relationships, we create the relationships in between these tables. So like desk and the student has one-to-one relationship, and class and the student has one-to-many relationship, and student and the teacher, they had many-to-many relationships. So that is what we were talking about, like when we are discussing the last week, how to identify a many-to-many relationship, right? So I think the things that we have done is clear to you so far, right? So, and now in the student teacher table, we can see what's the relationship in between these particular students when it comes to the like how many of teaching hours is done for a particular student. Now look at this expansions or like the connections that has been built through the tables, right? Now, earlier when we are like creating the relationship in between desk and the student, we make it as a one-to-one relationship. So like if we went to the student table, if we span this Saman Kumar, we can see like how many teachers or like who are the teachers that is related with them. Right now, this TID and the teaching hours, this is taken from the student teacher table, right? Because here the Saman Kumar's admission number is 1001. In the student table, it says 1001 has a session with T001 for 5 hours. And again, the same student has a session with T002, that means another teacher, for 3 hours. So since we have built up the relationship like this, like many to many, right? When we are creating a many to many relationship, we are getting a new table. That is where we store this primary key of each and every table, and the common variables or like the common fields which needs to be described using both the primary keys of these two tables, right? Because we can't describe the teaching hours only using the admission number. If we are going to describe teaching hours only using the admission number, there will be a problem, like with which teacher that this teaching hours has made. And again, if we are going to explain the teaching hours using TID only, then again, the problem will arise with which student that these teaching hours are going to be. So that is why the teaching hours are sent to a one particular table. And when it comes to the advanced creations, like especially when if you are learning the ICT in A levels, you will be a much clearer picture why we are going to create a separate table when it comes to a many-to-many relationship, right? So for your knowledge, for your level, for your syllabus, what we are doing is like we are just identifying how the relationships are going to be in between the tables in the way we do last week, right? The way we did last week. So now in the student table, as I show you, it reflects now who like this student with which teacher that he has or she has, had a session, right? Even when it comes to the 1002, it shows like what is the teaching session, like with what teacher, right? And the same goes to the 1003, and 1004 may not have in anything because in the student teacher table, there is no entry regarding the 1004. So it does not reflect. And again, if you go to the desk table, now the desk table expansion shows you this particular desk D001 belongs to which particular student, because the desk and the student uh, shares a one-to-one relationship in between, right? So in the desk table, it shows you like which student has this particular desk and what are the details of those. So likewise, each and every desk is given with a particular student. And when it comes to the class, in between class and the student, we had a one-to-many relationship, right? It's many side comes to the student, one side comes to the class. So in one-to-many relationship, we can see the class table is showing us how many students are there in a particular class. So all these things are like listed over here and formatted over here, since because we have created these relationship in a meaningful manner, right? In case if we don't have these relationship in between the tables, then we won't be see these kind of details regarding a particular table, right? And another thing that I want to show you, like how this relationship will avoid us uh, like from some particular mistakes that we are going to do, right? Now as an example, like for the student table, if I'm going to change this CID into the C003, right? As I remember, the class table does not have C003. There is only two classes, right? So, but in the student table, I'm going to change this particular student's class as C003. Like once I type it and then I change the row, it gives me this kind of a error message. So error message give you a warning saying you cannot add or change a record because a related record is required in table class. So in simple terms, it says, since there is no class with the ID of C003, you can't have a class CID for any particular record anywhere else because it has the relationship, right? So then what we can do is we have to add the C003 to the class table first, then we have to use it, or otherwise we have to go with some particular class ID which is already exist in the class table. Are we clear with that, people?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. Great. Okay, so now I am moving back to your note, right? So let me take the note. Yeah, so in your lesson, so we have created the tables, we have created the relationships, and now today we are going to learn about a new component or a new object regarding a database, which we call forms. Now, forms in the sense is an object which helps you to add or delete or manipulate data in simple terms, to manage data without accessing a particular table. Now, as I told you earlier in the previous sessions, the database administrator is the one who is maintaining the particular database and the tables inside it. Not everyone is given the chance to access the data tables always, because it's a risky thing to do, right? In case if someone had the access, which does not have a good knowledge about handling a database, sometimes he or she may delete some record without knowing it. Sometimes he may have changed it. Sometimes with a person who has a very good knowledge regarding the database, will access the database and change it deliberately, right? Like having the idea of changing it, right? Think about a critical database like where a financial institute is holding, right? So a single digit can change the balance from thousands to 10,000s, or 10,000s to 100,000s, or 100,000s to millions, right? So it's that critical when it comes to the databases. So therefore, when it comes to the real world, the database is given the access with its administrator and very limited number of people regarding the direct access to the database, right? All other people, even the programmers, they are given the chance to have a connection in between the database and the program that they are going to create, but not the way but not the way that we are entering the data into a database, right? එතකොට මේ වගේ table එකක් open කරලා programmer කෙනෙක් data දාන්න කරන්න එහෙම කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ, right? They have their separate program, or like they have their they will use their programming language, and they will have their separate interfaces like the ATM machine. Those interfaces will be there, so those can be built by the programming languages, so the program, and there will be a database in a different place, right? So what they are doing is they are creating a connection in between this application and the database, right? So once you enter some data, there is a way that we can feed those data into this database to a particular place. And later, if we want to retrieve any particular data, so you will be able to take the data from this database through this connection, then come and fill it on the specific places of the application, right? It's a simple thing that happens when we are interacting with an ATM machine, right? When we insert the ATM card and enter the PIN, so that PIN number will be taken into the database and check the user entered PIN number. Is it matching with the table data where the PIN numbers are holding, right? So if this PIN number is matched with the database entry, then this program is going to give you the next screen, which gives you different kinds of options for you to choose, right? And if it is not matching, it's going to give you an error message. Simple as that, right? So that's why I told you this is the place where most of the users, most of the end users, like almost like more than 99% of the end users are using the application, which we call the application. So this does not give you the direct access to the database. It gives a remote access in a different way. So the database will be protected, because not entire database is open and given to the any particular user. Instead of that, some particular data, the required data, will only be retrieved inside the application, right? So when it comes to the forms also giving us a way of entering the data into the database tables without opening the particular tables inside the database, right? So I'll show you how to deal with that as well. Okay, let me clear this drawing. All right. So now what we can use is we can go to the create tab, and then we can use the form group to create a particular form. So when you need to create the form, there is something called form wizard that is the one which helps you to create a form without a very good without having a lot of hassles, right? It will help you, it will guide you to create the form. And if you are going to create the form by yourself, you should have some idea about what kind of data that you are going to use on this form, and how those data can be used onto your form, right? So when it comes to the like if I once I click the form, so it just create me a form for the student table, right? So like it's just like that, right? It straight away creating a one when I click the form, uh, like the form button over here, right? If you want to create your own particular form, you can go for the form design, and then you are given some tools over here, right? Which you should know what kind of tools are these. Then you can create that particular form, and you can import the data from the table to a particular form. Like look at what they have created regarding the student. So it's all the fields that inside the student table are taken over here, right? And even a small data table is given over here as well. So this is a default one, a predefined one, which is like straight away, like within a very few seconds, which you can generate, right? And here they are just allowing us some controls over there, right? So you can do the differences or like the changes that you want, right? And you can move from these arrows over here, right? Which will help you to move from record to record, right? And here I am in the layout view. So if I now unlike the previous views that we had, here they have another extra view. They have the layout view, design view, and the form view. So if I click on the form view, it's just the form which enable us to enter the data and do those things. And using these arrows, we can change the data that we can see over here, right? So it shows you the details regarding a one particular student over here. And hold on, they're supposed to change their details from this point. Yeah, due to some particular reason it's not changing. Anyway, we will design a form using the form design tools, right? So then you will be having a good idea about it. So even if you are going to like redesign or like customize this one, still you can go for the home and take the layout view, and you can change the components that you are having. Like if you don't want this particular data grid uh, below this particular table, so you can just get rid of that, right? And yeah, yes. So like earlier it was, yes, it was my mistake. Like I missed this controller like right at the beneath of the particular form. I was just trying to do the changes with the data grid. We call this a data grid. So like you can keep it, or if you want, you can delete it, right? In the form design, right? And you can change the things in the way you want. And if you go to the form view, even in the design view, you can do this. You can use these arrows at the bottom of the form, right? And you can change the records. So now it's 1003. Now it's 1004. And when I click the next button, it goes to the fifth record, which is an empty one, right? So here you can give some particular data, so which will create a new record. Like if I give like 1005 in my student table, they don't have 1005. So like 1005, let's say like Kushan. And we can pick the particular date. Let's say this is as 700. And the CID, I'm going to give them like Z003. No, 02. Yes. Right. And yeah, let's see whether this is going to work. Yeah, I guess. Yes, now it is there. See, earlier it was only 4 records. Now I got 5 records. And now you can see in the student table, still they got 4 records, right? So like not in the MySQL. In some of the database, they give you the chance to refresh everything. Ah, yes, even in here it is. So now you got something called refresh all. If I go for the refresh all, see, the 5th record is added, right? So now if you expand it, it likes this. If you go to the class, now C002 has 3 particular students, right? Now in here, we just insert the details from this particular form, not by accessing this particular table, right? And if you are going to design the form, you are going to get used to these particular controllers. There are many particular controllers over here. Like we can go through some of these things right now. If we shift your textbook, it's just going to show you like the things that the way that we are going to do it using the query. Are they like? So I remember it goes with the query wizard. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So like using the control wizard, you can do that particular things, right? Or else you can go with that the designing things from the scratch, right? So I'll show you how the things are going to happen. So they just say like create form design and add existing fields, like so you can take the tables can be shown and you can select the particular design that you want, right? So only thing is you have to drag and drop, right? And some particular buttons can also be embedded, right? Then we can manage those buttons. We can code those buttons, uh, like saying what to be done and how it should manage or like behave when they are clicked, right? So for that, we have the control wizard as well as some particular other components as well, right? Okay, so I'm taking back to the access. So now let's try to manage, or let's try to create a particular form. Since we have the student form over here, let's try to create a form for the class one, right? So class is just having the CID and the CNAME, and only those 2 things we need to be managed. So I use this form, this empty one, to create a form regarding the class, right? So you can take the form as I told you by going to the create button or the create tab and clicking on the form design, not on the form. If you click on the form, it will create a particular default form in the way that access needed to be done. So you went to the form design. So form design will give you something like this. And then you are going to add the details for this form using these three tabs, right? So this comes when you ask to create a form. So you can go to the form design and there is something called add existing fields. So you can click over here. Once you click over here, you can see uh, there is a window or like a pane is opening at your right hand side showing the field list, and it says show all tables, right? So once I click on here, you can see all the tables are listed in here. Now what you can do is you can expand these tables, right? So those tables will show what are the fields that they are using under the table. So since we are creating the a form for the class table, what we have to use is like the CID and CNAME. So we can use it to enter data into that particular thing majorly, right? So what you can do is you can just right click and say add field to view, or you can just drag this and drop. All right, I'll show you again. You can just drag this and drop, so it will be placed on the form. And when you are taking that field, the form accepts two things on the form. First one is the label, right? So the label means the component or the particular text that the end user is going to see on our product. And this particular one is called the text box, right? So the text box is the one which shows you what is the value regarding that particular CID, right? So if you want to create two things, so you can take it like this, and you can see when I'm changing this like the CNAME, you can see both of my components came together. When I move it, both of things are moving, right? So we have to like get rid of this thing, right? Or like we have to detach the label from the particular text box, right? So for that, you can do this trick, right? So hold on, they are not giving it over here now. Where do we? Not the tabular and the task. It was there earlier, saying detaching. Hold on, people. Let me check. Let me check. Mhm. Ah, yes, yes. Now they have given the ability to this particular small box. Yeah. So like it's like this. If you take it from the component, they move together, right? If you take it from this particular gray color box at the top of the component, you can manage it individually, right? You take it just from this component, it moves together. And in the early version, there was a method to detach these from one another, but now they don't. I don't know, they have taken it out for some reason. And you can manage the form size, right? So if you want, you can make this tiny and like do it. And if you want to change the size of the components, you can just use these dots, right? So likewise. And again, when it comes to the buttons, right? We can have buttons from this particular icon, right? So you can click on this and you can add, click and drag it on the particular home. So it will draw you a particular button. And when the button is inserted, like at the moment that it's been inserted, this small window comes automatically when we place the button. Once we're done with drawing it, this particular window will show you and will ask you to program that button or like give some purpose to that particular button. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a button which just that we can click and just do nothing, right? So this command button wizard is there to manage the command regarding the button, right? And when it comes to the this command button wizard, it has different kinds of commands, right? So regarding the record navigation, they have different kinds of actions. Find next, find record, go to the first record, go to the last, go to the next, go to the previous, right? So when it is done, you can see that the icon is gonna change. See, right? So I can place the button and I can program it to change the particular data which is shown by the home over here. So I'll take uh, go to the previous record regarding this and look at the other things that they have given here. They have record operations. This is regarding the navigations that is going through records. Record operations, when it comes to the record operations, it's like add a new record, delete a record, duplicate a record, print a record, and save the record, as well as undo the record. So those are the record operations, right? So what kind of operation that you have, so you are going to manage that thing using this, right? And when it comes to the form operations, there are different kinds of form operations like applying a form filter, which is some advanced things, right? Printing a form, right? Print the current one, refresh the form data, those kind of things, right? So we are going to work with this record navigation and the record operations for the knowledge of yours. So record navigation, I'm going to take the previous record one and say next. And then they are asking like what they have done here is we choose the record navigation, the category, and we use go to the previous record, right? Once you click next, it shows you the preview still. And they ask whether we prefer to a text on the button or we prefer a picture, right? So you can't take what the picture and text together, right? Most probably. So like what you can do is like either you choose in a text, so you choose in a text, either you write in something like, or like you are going to something like if you don't like to write anything, if you are going to express things from a picture, then go with the picture, right? So likewise, if you choose the text and goes to the next, then that particular button will be renamed by that, right? So go to previous, and this command 3 here, you don't have anything to change regarding your particular channel, because you are not going to use different kinds of buttons with different kinds of purposes, right? So this explains what kind of a button that the system can recognize it, right? Because the name previous record, what we can see on the button is the name that we have given. It is not an official document, right? So like if it is going to be an official name, or like if the access is going to recognize this particular button, it doesn't matter which name that particular button is containing. The name of the particular resource or the button is going to be the command 3. If you want, you can change it, it doesn't matter, right? So if you want, you can say like cmd previous, right? We can go something like that, right? So it says command previous, or like you can say btn stands for button previous, right? So then I can finish this. See, so it is goes with previous record thing. It's going to be a particular button which takes you backward one by one, right? So, and again, if you want to go forward, navigation, right? So I'm going to say go to the next record, and next I'm going to use the picture one, right? And next, so the command 4 I can, I'm going to give button next and finishes. Right, so I've got two buttons over here, one for the previous record and one for the next record. Let's see how this is going to work. Yeah, so like C001 is there. Yes, Sanushi, it's like this. Sanushi, when it comes to the programming part, there should be a way to understand what type of button that we are going to use now. Think that we are going to use different kinds, like 10 different kinds of buttons. So the programmer should be able to recognize which particular button that he need to work with. So if the button name is saying as like command 3, command 4, command 5, command 6, likewise, like programmer will be in trouble by recognizing what is command 3, what is command 4, what is command 5, likewise. So due to that, we change the name of a button. So the people who are developing the particular uh, program or the form will be able to identify what kind of a program this is very easily. Right, got it? Okay, great. Okay, now as you can see, this is the class form that they showing us to us. We are in the form view now. So if I use this next record, see, it turns because there is only two records, right? And if you click the previous, so it goes like that. Right, so likewise, we can create the forms uh, using different kinds of ways, and as well as we can involve the buttons as well. Right, so yeah, that is what they are asking you to learn and rehearse regarding the forms. So the best part of the form is we can protect our data in the database, in the tables, without accessing it, right? And later, if you want to okay, likewise. Right, and in the design view, didn't I? Yeah, I make this smaller, but it didn't work actually. Yeah, they are asking a name for the form when I'm pressing the Control S, that means to save, right? So I just give this is since that this is regarding the class form. So Lamai, give me a second. Yeah, people, sorry for that. My little one is not well. She is suffering with influenza fever. So I have to run and come when she is not feel comfortable, right? Yeah. So like, yes. So we were talking about how to put the command and how the form is being designed. So now you know how to create the particular form. And the one that is being created by the database, we can also save this thing, right? And we can give some particular name. They are like proposing the student. So we can set it like that. So is that clear to everyone regarding how a form can be created and how a buttons can be added into that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. All right, so the next component that we are having is the forms. I'm sorry, the reports, right? And the queries. So let's move back. So yes, we have went through this design. So here they are talking about the queries. So now when it comes to the queries, it's kind of like this. When you need to take some data or like take some records filtered from the particular tables, we can say it's from one particular table or it can be from many particular tables. So using the query, we can take it very easily and quickly, right? So when it comes to the uh, forms, it's about inserting the data. When it comes to the queries, it is filtering the data or like choosing uh, what we need only. It's like now if someone needs to take the details about some particular students or like of all the students, just their names, addresses, and the fees. So they only need these three columns in their output. They don't need all the things. So queries will help us to create such kind of outputs. And remember, when it comes to the queries, queries will always use to view the data, right? It's not going to prepare you a report or any particular printed type of output. It is just a view uh, of some filtered data from your database, right? So let me go through this the query. So to create the query, we can go to the create and we can use the query and the query design at the same way. Right now in the book, they are talking about the queries like going by just designing it, right? So you can go to the create tab, the query design as we went, and select the necessary tables and select the necessary fields from the tables, and we can run the query. So like to see the output, the final output of the query, we have to run it, right? So let's see how it's going to happen. Again, here you got a query wizard, which will help you to create the query. And there is a query design. So we are going with the query design. So once we click on the query design, it comes over here. Now, for the query design, there are two type of views. And when you open the query design, these tables are given to you like it is because like query is always related to the tables. So when you are opening a query design, it is obvious to have the tables over here, right? So what you can do is you can select whatever the tables you want from here. Or else if you're not getting this window, you can click on the add tables button over here, which will give you this particular window again, right? So now first I'm going to use the student table, only the student table. to create my query, right? So here I go with the student table. I have all my fields over here. So when I load the student table to this particular place, underneath it, there is a place which help me to create my query. So all these columns are given the drop down with the field names of the table or the tables that I have loaded over here. So now, since I have only the student table, this shows only the fields of the student table. Now, if I add another table, like let's say desk, now this particular list is having student details as well as desk details as well. And you can see like there is something called student dot asterisk, desk dot asterisk is there. This particular, this one and this one. The asterisk indicates everything, all the columns, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the S name, as I told you, and I need the address and I need the field, right? So uh, I just choose those three for my query. And if I run the query, it will show an output just by using these three columns, right? Let's just simply run this, right? Here I'm running it. My run command is over here in the query design under the query design tab. Here I'm going to run. Look at that. So what you can see is another table, right? So, but it is not the table which we have created originally. This is something we requested, something we queried, right? So according to the query, it gave me this type of table, right? So, and not only this thing, right? Now, when it comes to my student table, there are how many? Yeah, 5 students are there. And why my query is giving me only 3? Yeah, now that's a problem. Hold on. Student table got 5 entries. Didn't I save it? Not sure. Let me run the query again, maybe because I have not saved it. Let me go to the design view and let me run this. Yeah, it takes me only the 3 things, maybe because of the relationship that I have made here. Let me go to the design view and take out this one. Let me run this again. Yeah, yes. And the previous one happens due to this thing because in the desk table, I have only 3 desks over here. So like, and only 3 students are given a desk. So only those 3 is indicated. Neither. Yeah, it was Saman, Neil, and Misha who was indicated, right? So now what was happening, I didn't play any relationship in there. I just take only one table and I'm just asking the query to select the student name, the address, the annual fee, right? So once I run this, it gave me this particular one, right? And if I need to have the fields from multiple tables, like in case if we have a requirement like the people or like now in the student teacher table we have the admission number, we have the teacher ID and the teaching hours, no? So like we need to have the student name and the teacher name with teaching hours, right? So we need that kind of output. So for that, we can use another query, right? So you can save your queries, or else you can use the same query uh, for the display part, right? I can go and change, I can go to the design view and I can delete this particular table, and then I can add the student teacher table, as well as I need the student table and the teacher table, and I can use those things to view what I need, right? So I'm going to take S name from the student table, all right? And I'm going to take the T name from the teacher table and the teaching hours from the student teacher table. So from here, I'm going to take the student name. From here, I'm going to take the teacher's name. And from here, I'm going to take the hours, teaching hours, right? So let's see what happens when we run this. Yeah, can you see it? Now we have S names, T names, and the teaching hours. Now in the student teacher table, we got 4 records, which is connected, or like which was related with the admission number and TID. That was the way we are supposed to create the table. So now from here, we can have the student name, teacher's name, and the teaching hours by using a query, right? So those kind of requirements will be there when you are creating a query, right? So why query is there? To fetch some data or to filter some data according to our requirement from the tables that we have created, right? And what you have to remember always is query is always trying to give you the output as a table. That's what you need to remember, right? Right. And again, when we are creating the queries, we can use some conditions as well, right? Like not in every field, but for some fields, we can use some conditions and do the filtering, right? Now, if you think about the student table, like there are similar addresses, right? Kohuwala, Kottawa, no, they don't have similar addresses. Okay, I'll make this something similar. I'll make this as Kottawa. So two similar addresses, and yeah, I'll make this home again, right? So now what I'm trying to do is I'm going to do some filtering. So I'll get rid of my teacher table. I'm get rid of my student teacher table. Only the student table is here. So I'm going to take the S name and the address and the date of birth, right? And we don't need to maintain the S name first, address second, date of birth, like in an order, like in the original order of the table. You can have any particular column at the first, like you can have the address first, then you can have the student name, then you can have the date of birth. Likewise, you can do the mixing up thing, right? So, and here if you want, you can give the sort in order, like you can sort the address by ascending order, right? So if we sort it ascending order from the address, look what is happening. If I run this, so now H comes first, K comes next, right? So it is being sorted, right? And in the design in view, if I make this descending and run it, it comes the other way around, right? So all the records will be created ordered descendantly since we have said this to be done in the descending order. And you can still sort student name in ascending order, but like no purpose will be there, because like when the table is, or like when the query is going to give you an output, it's not possible to make uh, the details of the address in descending order, then separately making the student names ascending order. The address එක change වෙනකොට accordingly S name එකත් එයාට අනුව උඩ පහළ යනවා නේද? If the address is going to arrange in descending and the S name is going to be arranged in ascending, then of course the database information is going to change, right? Because if the address is going to arrange descending, that means Kottava comes first, then the Casbava comes next, and the Homagama comes next. And again, if the S name is going to sort in ascending, then of course Kushan comes first. Then it's going to be a problem, right? Kushan, then the that particular information is going to show Kushan comes from Kottava, which is a wrong one. And it's not going to be done by the query, even though we are giving such thing like this. We'll run this and see what's going to happen. See, it's only the address that they have make descending. This one they don't care about it, right? So there are some advanced ways, but I'm not going to go for that particular moment, right? So like that, we can manage it from the ascending and descending order. And in the criteria, I'm taking out this descending and ascending. So when it comes to the criteria, we can give some particular conditions to this particular place. In regarding the criteria, if I say equals Kottava, and run it, see, the addresses from Kottava will only be shown, right? So what I have said is like select the address, select the student name, select the date of birth from the student, this particular table, where address is Kottava, right? So likewise, we can filter the things, right? And in case like if I am getting another column called annual fee, so I'll take this away, and here as a criteria I'm going to give larger than 500, right? So if you sneak into the student table, you can see like there are like only one student who is there who has paid more than 500. All other are less than 500, right? So if I make this as 400, I will take like 2. If it is larger than 400, then in my output, there should be the Saman Kumara and the Kushan. The first one and the last one only be there, right? So let's see, I'm going to run this. See, it's Saman Kumar and Kushan, who has the annual fees 500 and 700. So likewise, we can give the search in criterias as well. So we can see an output in that particular manner. So are we clear about the queries, people? Like we take the queries to filter the data in the way we want, according to our conditions and our some particular arrangements, right? It is not something that we can print, right? If you want these particular data, the very same data as a printable format, as a nice output, you have to choose the reports, right? So to do that, you have to go to the create and you have to come to the reports, right? So when it comes to the reports, you will be able to create a nice and easy report, which will be able to print and present to someone else, right? So before that, I'll sneak into your book whether we have to see whether we have cover all the things in the query. Yes, we have, like we have given some, yes, see, we have given some conditions, right? Yes, there is one another thing that we can do over here. We can make the totals as well, right? And yeah, yes, yes, we'll try this out as well, right, before we move to the reports. So yes, in this case, I'm going to design the query. Let's say I need to have a total field. Let me refer it from your book as well, how they have taken it. Oh yes, since they got different kinds of subjects, we will be able to have the totals regarding those. But in our tables, we don't have that kind of a capability. So let me check a place where we have the ability. Yes, to do that, we have to have a particular table. Hold on. Let me check it like this, whether this is going to work or not. Sometimes this may work. Yeah, that is something additional that they have. Yes, we can build an expression from here, but yeah, let's try it. Yes, it works like this. Since we got only one particular column, it's like this. But what I have done here is I choose only the annual fee. And in the annual fee, I have said, take the sum of the student table's annual fee. Right? So I was taking these things out because if we have these things, uh, it cannot give us a specific output, because taking a sum of regarding our particular table, taking sum means like taking the sum of all these things, right? All these things. Like if we are going to if we ask them to choose these particular things, then of course they won't be able to select the things that I am talking about, because we are going to have a total of the entire data of this particular column. Therefore, they are going to give us a error. So if I just say, give me the total annual fees like of the student table just by selecting that only that particular column, then of course it is possible. See, it gives me the total of 1900. Right. So likewise, we can use the particular expression builders or like the design forms to make the sum. So how did I do this? So what I have done is, there are many ways of doing it. I have done is I have right click on this particular place where we are selecting the specific column, right click on it, and I choose the build, right? So this is what you call expression builder, right? And in expression builder, we have different kinds of elements given in here, right? We have queries that we have saved. We have some particular functions. So I have used built-in function called sum from here. This particular sum expression, right? And again, when I'm using the sum expression, the sum function, for that I have to specify of what particular column that they are expecting me to have the sum, right? So for that, I have gone to the my student database over here and open the tables and open the student table, and from there I took the field name called annual fee, right? And if we really know how to type this by ourselves, we don't need to go and choose. We can just type it like this, like student in square bracket exclamation, then the annual fee in square brackets, right? So otherwise we can go and choose the particular one. Right now, when these brackets are empty, once I double click on the annual fee, it types me this thing automatically, right? So this is going to be my function, and it is regarding this particular uh, column that I'm going to do, right? It is little bit advanced paper. In the examination, most probably you will be not having the questions from this area, most probably, right? So anyway, once we run this, we are getting the sum of all the annual fields. So if you refer to the student table, we got these amounts like 500 plus 100 600 plus 200 800 plus 400,200 plus 700,000 900. Yes, so here the total is 1900. So we are getting that 1900 as our output, right? And again, if you want the fees like as a subtotal, like in case, like let's say we had a requirement, the total fee of the Kottawa city, the total fee of the Homagama city, likewise city by city if we need to refer it, then we can go for that as well, right? So in the query, when we are asking some things like that, we can enable the address, right? And we can right click and say, take the totals, right? So it says group by. It gives us a group by. So group by address will happen, right? I have not enabled this S name and the date of birth, only the address and the annual fee. So now I'm going to have the fees filtered by the address, or I group by the address. Let's see whether this is working. Okay, so hold on. By over here, let's run this and see. Yeah. Oh no, 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 they haven't grouped it. Hold on, hold on. Yes, they are giving some particular errors regarding this. Let me see. Group by. Yes, they are not being grouped. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, let me off this for a moment and take. No, no, something is not okay with this. No, people, I think I have to go through that. It's not happening in the previous way. Maybe some difference with the latest version. Yes. Anyway, I'll go through it and come up to you, like how the grouping things is. It is not in your syllabus paper. So like I'm trying to show you something extra. So by next week, I'll show you how to create the reports as well, right? That's the last object that we have to do, right? And we can do some exam questions by next week as well. So then we are done with the grade 10 syllabus, right? Then we are going to start the grade 11 syllabus the week after, right? So get ready. So we will be done by next Tuesday. That is like 31st of the January, right? So then by the first week of the February, we will be able to start the grade 11 stuff, right? Okay, people, I'm going to end the session from here just for today, right? And we'll finish up the lesson by next week by meeting on the same time, right? Thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you on next week for the very same time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye, sir.
Thank
Have
Right,
a
you,
nice
sir.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.